Hi, welcome to our podcast today. My name is Stephanie Chase, and we are here to help you be the very best you that you can possibly be. And today we are reaching out to all of our parents, grandparents, caregivers, anyone who is in a relationship with a toddler or 2-year-old. This podcast is designed to help you be able to be the very best you in that toddler or 2-year-old's life. So buckle your seatbelt and get ready, because you are about to hear some tips that will transform your toddler or 2-year-old's life and how you interact with them. Currently, as we're recording today, we're in this journey through this season of COVID-19, and my husband and I, we are reliving some old times because our grandson, who is 2 years old, and I must say absolutely adorable, he is a chunky little boy that never ever stops moving. We have had the opportunity to care for him during this season of COVID-19. As an early childhood professional educator, I'm absolutely loving these moments. Now, my husband, on the other hand, not so much. So I don't know about you, but you probably fall into one of these two categories. I love this kid, but he or she is driving me crazy. Or I love this kid, and I am just enjoying every moment watching this child become who God created him or her to be. So, no matter which category you fall in, today we're going to find out, how do we survive these 2-year-old and toddler years? And what I've discovered in my life is when I learn the why of something, it helps me be able to better handle the situation, to be able to relate to people in a better way. So today we're going to uncover a little bit of the why my 2-year-old, my toddler, is the way he or she is. And one thing that I want you to make sure you know is that every toddler, every 2-year-old learns through imitation. Yes, your child imitates you. Your child imitates the people around him. Your child imitates what they see on television or on a screen. One of my favorite stories of imitation, I am the kids minister at our church at Champion Forest Baptist Church in Houston, Texas. And one Sunday morning, a group of preschoolers were playing. And a little girl was playing in the home living center that's set up like a kitchen. And we had a little pretend blender and cups for the children to play with that morning. And the little girl was over there working so hard. She was working the pretend blender and had the cups out. And the teacher looks over and says, "Oh, tell me what you're doing." And the little girl looks up with a giant smile and she says, "Making spicy margaritas." Well, as you and I both know, she has learned through imitation, and that's how children learn. So what is key for us as caregivers, as people in relationship with these little balls of energy and bundles of movement that never stop, our attitude determines the atmosphere for this child. You may be thinking, what does that mean? Well, let's think, for example, let's suppose that your toddler starts to throw his food on the floor while he's eating. Now, you've gotten up to run into the kitchen to get napkins or paper towels because maybe you've also had a spill. So from across the kitchen, you yell at your toddler, "Stop it! Stop throwing food now! Stop it!" Pause. Your child learns through imitation. So, in the future, or maybe right in that moment, when your child feels frustrated, your child may respond, "Stop it! Stop it!" once they learn how to speak. Now, if they're not using words yet, it may sound like this, with fists clenched and a scowl on their face. They're imitating what they have heard and they have seen from you. And not only will they imitate that, but the attitude that you have, your toddler or your 2-year-old is going to take that on. So when you feel frustrated, your toddler or your 2-year-old will feel that frustration. When you feel calm and you feel peaceful, your toddler is going to take on those exact same feelings. So if you're like me, these moments happen in your life. So what do you do? How do you be the best parent, the best caregiver you can be for this child in this moment? Well, the key is stay calm, speak clearly, get up, and go to. So when your child begins to throw food on the floor, take a deep breath. Okay, and just give yourself a second to calm down. Then you're going to, from wherever you are, get up, walk over to the child without saying anything, even if they're still throwing the food on the floor. Get down on your child's eye level, look them in the eye. This calms your child. This earns their respect to listen to you. Daddy has gotten up and walked over to me and gotten down on my level. What he has to say to me must be important right now. So you stay calm, you get up, you go to the child, and then you're going to speak clearly. I know some of you are thinking, my child does not have a clue what I'm saying. All they do is speak gibberish all the time. Trust me. Your child is understanding. They are listening, they are comprehending, and not only are they receiving verbal cues, but they're also receiving cues from your interaction with them. So, what do you say in a situation like this? You're going to say, Brody, food stays on the table. We keep food on the table. Calmly, tell him what your expectation is. Always start with the positive. You don't want to say, Brody, you get up, let's pretend you get up, you walk over to him, you're looking him in the eye. Brody, do not throw your food on the floor. Okay? What did you receive from me from that attitude? You sensed it, didn't you? Even just hearing it. Well, when you walk over and you get down on his eye level and you tell him positively, you're letting him know what you expect from him. Brody, food stays on the table. We keep our food on the table. Mommy keeps her food on the table, Granny keeps her food on the table, and Brody keeps his food on the table. And then what does every 2-year-old and toddler love? Yay! And you're clapping and you're cheering because we are keeping our food on the table. You might also say something like, Brody, when food goes on the floor, it's yucky, yucky. And make sure he sees on your facial expression that that's yucky. He doesn't want that food on the floor. When the food is on the floor, Brody, it's yucky. We can't eat it. And then all the food is gone. Bye-bye food. And then we have no food to eat. We keep our food on the table. Yay! Now, I know that takes a lot of what? Time. Yes, it does. And it takes intentionality and it takes patience. I get it. But if you will start now and stay consistent, this is the key. Every time you eat at the table, the expectation is food stays on the table, and you repeat it over and over and over. And eventually, guess what? The food is going to stay on the table. Now, your child is not throwing the food on the table just to spite you and to make you mad and to gain control. Well, let me say, toddlers and twos, yes, do that. However, when they begin these actions, for example, Brody is probably throwing his food on the floor because it's fun. It's something he can do. He's learning cause and effect. When I let go, wow, it falls to the floor and lands on the floor. He's learning a lot of things. What he needs is a good, patient, willing teacher to teach him that, yes, even though that is fun to do, it's not what's best for Brody. And you want Brody, you want your toddler, you want your 2-year-old to be the very best toddler 2-year-old he or she can possibly be. At our house, we have a high chair still for Brody. And the rule is, at our house, Brody, you must sit in your chair when you eat. Now, at his house, he's learning to sit in a big boy chair, in a regular chair, and eat at the table. Granny's not ready for that yet. Can I get an amen from anybody out there? At my house, you're going to be locked into your high chair. So he knows this, and we've told him, when you're at Granny's house, you eat in your chair. It's not negative, it's not bad, it's just, guess what? That's what we do at Granny's house. Yay! So 2 days ago, it was time for lunch, and I said, Brody, it's time to eat. Remember, at Granny's house, you sit in your chair. And I turned around to go get the food, and the next thing I know, Brody was at his high chair, crawling in, had gotten himself in all by himself. And my husband, Pops, was like, did you see that? It's that constant, consistent expectation, kind, loving, but this is the expectation that we expect of you, you wonderful toddler 2-year-old that God has created. Now, I know what you might be thinking in this moment. It doesn't work every time. You're right. There are times when your toddler or your 2-year-old is still going to throw their food on the floor. Maybe they're going to throw a fit. What do you do in that moment? You remain consistent. I want to give you an example, or remind you of this first before the example. Always give your toddler or 2-year-old warnings for what's coming up. For example, you're at the playground. You know that you're leaving in 10 minutes. You say to your toddler, to your 2-year-old, in 10 minutes, we're going bye-bye. You wait a few minutes. In 8 minutes, we're going to go get in the car. In 5 minutes, we're saying bye-bye to the playground. In 1 more minute, we are leaving to go home. Yay! And when we get in the car, we are going to get our sippy cup and our goldfish. This is the last time you may go down the slide, and then we are leaving. It may feel like that's a whole lot of overkill just to leave the playground, but trust me, it will be worth it in the long run. If you prep your toddler, prep your 2-year-old for what's coming next, it gives them time to prepare for that. It may seem that your toddler or your 2-year-old does not have a clue what you're saying. For example, do they know what 10 minutes is? Do they know what 7 minutes is? No. But they know, and they sense, and they feel that it's almost time to go bye-bye, to get in the car, to have our snack. You have prepared them for that moment. Also notice, you've told them what they're going to do next. You've let them know that when we get in the car, we're going to have snack. In this moment, what could happen? You've prepared them, you've warned them, you've let them know what's coming, and it's time to go, and your toddler still isn't ready. Do you say, okay, I'll give you 5 more minutes? No. Do you say, okay, you can go down the slide one more time? No, you do not. You have set the expectation, and you have said this is what we're going to do. So you have to follow through with that expectation. So when they start to cry, when they start to scream, then you simply pick them up, and it's going to be difficult because they're going to squirm, they're going to push against you. You simply pick them up and as quickly as you can, gently sort of pat them on the back or rock from side to side. Talk calmly to them. Don't let them sense your frustration, because this isn't frustrating for you. You know that your toddler is acting like a toddler. And parent, teacher, grandparent, you have to get to the point in your mind and your heart that you don't care what other people think, as long as you know that you're doing what's best for your toddler and 2-year-old. It doesn't matter if people look at you like you're crazy. Okay, if you're doing the right thing, keep doing it. And you think in your heart, that lady on the podcast is with me, is for me, is behind me. So you pick them up, you're gently rocking, you're patting them on the back, and you're letting them know what's coming. Brody, we're about to get in the car and eat some snack. I'm so hungry. I want some goldfish. And you continue to move them mentally, emotionally into that next moment. It's okay to say, I know we feel sad when we have to leave the playground. It makes Granny sad too. I wish I could just let you play out here all day. He doesn't know I'm thinking, because that's easier on me. But let them know it's okay to feel this way. But what's about to happen will be okay too. Yesterday, it was nap time for Brody. And he had been jumping on the bed with Pops, and they were playing on the bed. And I had given him his warnings that it was almost bedtime. I went and said, Brody, this is your last jump with Pops, and then we're going to bed. So he jumped, and then I went and I said, let's go night-night. And typically going to bed is not a struggle for Brody, but for some reason yesterday it was. So I gently picked him up. I was patting him, rocking him, and saying, Brody, I like to jump too. We can jump when we wake up. Now it's time to rest. And guess what? Granny put your sippy cup with some milk right beside your rest spot for you, so you can have a big drink of milk before you go night-night. Immediately, his thoughts begin to turn. I'm patting his back. I'm calming him down. And he moved into that moment. So parent, grandma, caregiver, foster parent, what have we learned about toddlers and 2s today? We have learned a lot, haven't we? Yes, we have. But I want to recap and help you remember these basics until we meet again. You can practice these things. Number 1, remember, your toddler, your 2-year-old is learning through imitation. Your child will imitate everything you do. So number 2, your attitude determines the atmosphere. Keep in mind, your child is not against you. Your child is learning and growing. So don't take personally what your child is doing. Instead, take every moment as a child to teach your toddler, to teach your 2-year-old how to become the very best preschooler he or she can be. Your attitude determines the atmosphere. Next, get up and go to the child. Wherever they are, whatever the situation is, get up and go and get down on their eye level. My husband, after we talked about this technique the other day, he decided to try it. He wanted Brody to do something. So he got up, he walked over to Brody, he got down on his eye level, and he told Brody what he expected in a kind and positive way. It was really funny because Brody turned his back to him, crossed his arms, and just stood there. And he paused for about 5 seconds in that position, and then he went and did what Pops asked him. Brody was showing with his actions, I don't want to do what you're asking me to do. But guess what? He did it. And I don't know about you, but there are moments in my life when my face, when my words, when my actions may say, I don't want to do this, but I go ahead and do it. Toddlers and 2-year-olds feel the same way. Next, remember, set those positive expectations and stick to them. Don't keep giving chances. Don't change your plan. Give the expectation and stick to it. Offer warnings when change is coming so that you are preparing your toddler or your 2-year-old for what is ahead, and redirect their attention to what is coming as well. All of these steps take time, they take intentionality, they take purpose, and they take a lot of energy. Doing what we're talking about right now can be draining and exhausting. I want to encourage you to get your rest, to go to sleep, to eat, to exercise, parent, grandma, caregiver, and make sure that you are taking care of you so that you can help your toddler or your 2-year-old be the very best that they can be. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so glad that you took time to spend with us. We hope to meet you again as we continue these podcasts to help you relate in the very best way you can to your toddler or your 2-year-old. We'll see you soon for our next How to Handle 2-Year-Old and Toddlers podcast.